An announcement from the country's energy provider says that its regulator OfReg has accepted a roadmap for the country's future energy use, transitioning from complete fossil fuel reliance to one that uses more renewable energy, natural gas and renewable generation technologies. But what exactly does that entail and how does it impact your bill? And joining me now to explain more about this roadmap is the Vice President of Customer Service and Technology for CUC, Sacha Tibbetts. Welcome, Mr. Tibbetts.
Good evening, Tammi.
All right, so the document is actually quite hefty. It's 125 pages. I didn't want to print all of that paper. I have the first 20 pages in my hand here. Exactly what does this roadmap tell the country about what CUC plans to do?
So we put the study together over the course of about a year. Did a lot of public consultations to try and get an understanding of what did the jurisdiction want to achieve out of its energy resources, looking at things, do we want to favor environmental benefits over cost? Do we have to favor cost over environmental benefits? Looking at, what was important, price stability, reliability, and those sort of things. And so there's so many resources that are viable in the country, and each one has an impact on the other. And so in developing a mix of energy resources, it has to be optimized. Otherwise, just for example, we could say, all right, well, solar works. Let's go and get an infinite amount of solar or a very large amount of solar. We don't know what that effect has on the other resources and reliability unless you look at the energy resource mix as a whole. And that's what this study does, and then outputs the optimal energy mix based on cost and performance information of all the different technologies studied. And we're pretty excited about the end result.
I mean, the idea is for the end result for us to be 60% on renewable energy sources. Is that the idea?
The goal, that was actually not a goal.
Okay.
One of the goals was to make sure that we complied with the Paris Accord, which requires a 60% reduction of CO2 output.
All right.
Another goal was to maximize renewable energy insofar as it did not increase cost. So the end result was 60%, but that was not a goal. Well, it's actually a little bit less than 60%.
You know what, you just hit the trigger words there, I think, the cost. Mm-hmm. What people will be seeing bottom line on their bills. What are you projecting? Are we going to see those?
So number one, that's very difficult to predict. The study does have an answer to that, but the reality of the situation is projects may or may not happen at the exact same time as proposed in the study. For example, the first project, according to the study, should happen in 2021. We're kind of running out of time to make that happen at this point. And so that can have an effect on costs. But what we're seeing in general with the information available to us is we should see fairly stable costs if we can get the work done that needs to get done in the study. Fairly stable costs out decades.
I mean, it is a comprehensive plan. It's not light reading, certainly, and I'm not a mechanical engineer, so some of it does go over my head, but it definitely sets out the parameters for CUC to operate under to achieve the goals that are set. What I found interesting was that the document is predicting that only 5 megawatts would be generated by the burning of garbage. And I bring this up because we talk about the plan for the landfill and the waste management facility that's proposed, but we're not anticipating to use all that much energy from it, are we?
Well, 5 megawatts consistently running, that project is projected to operate almost 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, or pretty much 90% of the time. And so that actually will produce a lot of energy, right, because of how often it would be running if it runs according to plan. I think since the study was done, the developers of that project have increased the size of it, and I think it's somewhere about 6 or 7 megawatts now, which I guess is a good thing.
It certainly sounds like it. I guess there are less reliance on fossil fuels, the
Correct.
Better.
Yeah.
And this is a roadmap.
And that's considered to be renewable energy as well.
Wonderful. Mr. Tibbetts, thank you very much. We will be monitoring how this resource plan will be implemented, and we thank you for being here with us on Cayman 27 News.
Thank you for having me.